Hi, I'm Soha. I'm doing research and advisory work on climate and development policies from an African and Global South perspective. My contribution was about the GGA and global goal and adaptation, and more broadly adaptation priorities in the lead up to SP6 and COP30. The thoughts I shared were about first, what kind of outcome do we expect and do we want from these negotiation processes? If you take the 2-year work on indicators within the UAE BELEM work program, we need to make sure that the outcome is not simply about additional burdens for our countries that end up fueling an ever more complex landscape of adaptation bodies and adaptation processes under the Paris Agreement and the Convention of the Paris Agreement. So a meaningful outcome on adaptation for Africa is and should be socio-economic development outcome. And by this I mean that the GGA framework is relevant for us if it is reflective of our poverty reduction and inequality reduction priorities in Africa. I'm thinking of low income. If you take smallholder farmers, these people do not have necessarily access to funding for transitioning to resilient crops or for installing reward systems. So this should be also about this should be precisely about these people that are the worst hit by the climate crisis and the least capable to adapt. So implementing climate adaptation actions in a fair way, in a participative way, and also in an effective manner should be one way to tackle our development priorities in Africa and the Global South in general. And I think it's a discussion that we need to have both in the just transition space, but also under adaptation finance. Now, when it comes to operationalizing the GGA, this cannot happen without addressing the quality, volume, and accessibility of adaptation finance in Africa and Global South countries. And this can only be achieved if adaptation finance is framed in the context of historical responsibility. And you know, the dialogues that we've been having in the multilateral space, that's an important component from the perspective of knowledge exchange, but dialogues alone have not been very useful over the years for our developing countries. So what we need now in GGA discussions, we need implementation-oriented and action-focused discussions at CMH7 and beyond. And for this, the proper inclusion of means of implementation indicators in the current refining of indicators is fundamental. Now, about the question of the participation of private sector in financing adaptation. I think we always have to keep in mind that private sector is profit maximizing by nature, and adaptation is about it. This said, there are different types of actors when it comes to private sector in Africa. I believe we need to promote local private sector. We also need promote local impact investing, even if we need our own definition of this concept. But you know, impact investing is about, it deals with projects that have a long payback period, and this is typical of adaptation projects. So we definitely need to build a space for this, to promote champions in Africa of impact investing that can finance social enterprises that work on adaptation as well. When it comes to foreign private sector operating in Africa, Well, I think this is another discussion that needs to be taken carefully. And with the topic of subsistence. And another reflection is about the linkage between GGA indicators and loss and damage, and this was discussed very briefly in the last GGA mandated event that took place end of March, and I think we need to highlight it further at a time where our African countries are building national frameworks for the assessment of loss and damage costs. It's important to recall that the GGA indicator work, especially on hazards related indicators, should fit into that effort.